He jumped toward him and stabbed him using first strike white force sword. Unfortunately, it hit Jang's armor. He was thrown away and hit the cage fence when lunges toward him, then uses the second strike drifting soul to attack Jen. Unfortunately, he misses and making Jang shock, he shakingly grabs his sword on the ground, realizing that when bastard doesn't look like he's going to stop anytime soon, so he needs to do something. He readies his sword to attack again. Jang immediately ready his sword to block it, wanting to get out of there alive. Then he swings it forward and attacked Jang using his third strike long slash, breaking Jang's sword into pieces and hitting him a little before that happens. The story begins with RMC Lee Wan when he woke up in the room wondering where he was and look at his hand wondering what the hell it was. The note appeared above him and it said that Lee Wan was lost in deep thought. His hand poking out from the blanket looked a bit too soft and weak for someone who stood above everyone else using his fist. The hand of one unacquainted with marital arts, and that was the hand of his past when he still had nothing. He read it wondering if it could be. Then suddenly a system appeared telling him that he had started his first paragraph. He asked if it was a status window, and the note appeared showing him that the confusion didn't last long. Lee Wan had a look of clarity as he said status window. Suddenly the system warned him that the world is collapsing and told him not to speak lines that do not fit the world setting. He panicked. He asked why is it falling apart, and the system explained that it was a web novel's genre's fantasy and it doesn't have status windows. He furiously asks how the hell was he supposed to know about the setting? And that was his first death. He wakes up depressed in the same room again and frustrated at how many times he come back to that place. That place seems to be inside a web novel's world where his actions and words are reflected into reality. A moment ago that world collapsed many times inside that novel that some author started writing. A guy named Lee Wan ended up regressing for some unknown reason, and he ended up transmigration into his body. He wonders, how did he know that? Because he's not that guy. He is just a run-of-the-mill office worker and did have a short stint as a web novel writer, but for him it's not current important. Then he looks in the mirror and realizing that what's important is that guy is way too hunky, dreamy, handsome, and he thinks the author should change the genre to romance. He sits down realizing that the fact that a single line from him can cause the world to collapse means he must be the main character of that novel, so he wonders if he can do stuff like it. Then he said he swear that his current life will be all about fulfilling his own self-interest. The notes write his words, and the system told him that he completed the prologue, making him surprised that it actually worked. Then the system showed him that the author is debating on the title and decided that the title of that novel has been decided, as the Fist King is only interested in himself, making him surprised. Suddenly someone appeared saying that he have a good feeling about that one. He was shocked and asked the man, who is he? The man responded that people normally call him God, but right now he wants to be called the author, and explained to him that it was the reason why he brought him into the world of his work. He was speechless, wondering why the hell did God just appear. The God told him that the way he write his web novel is going to be different from how his people do it. He excused himself and excitedly told the God that he know a thing or two about web novels, so he asked him how about instead of Fist King, he used the strongest character in the world, is only interested in himself as the title, and explained that he must know that titles are very important nowadays, to which the God responded that he'll consider it. The God told him that he won't make him work for free, and if he get picked up as an official work and reach the #1 spot, he'll grant him a wish, and if he liked that place he can live there forever, but he can have whatever he wants, and he leaves it up to his imagination. That's why he should live a life befitting a main character. He was happy to oblige because he finally gets to escape his life as a minor character, and asks the author what should he do and what's the story going forward, but the author just leaves, telling him that they can discuss it later. He was left confused and called the God an author, but he said whatever the case he was thankful for making him a main character in a novel, and he excitedly wear his jacket, saying it was time for him to look around that world, but suddenly the system told him that the serialization has started. He looked back confused and saw the series in the title is the strongest character in the world is only interested in himself. The author is I Am God. The genre is a modern fantasy, and the summary said Lee Wan, the strongest character in the world, regressed, but now he is no longer the man he was in the past. All he cares about is his own self-interest. He was stunned that the god already starting his serialization when all he has is the prologue, and that for the setting he read the first note again, wondering what the god is thinking and if he's going forward with chapter 1 with absolutely no plan. He shakes his head, knowing that it might have worked in the past, but not anymore. He can't believe the god called himself an author, but he knows nothing about current trends. But whatever the case, it doesn't change the fact that he's a regressed main character. He said for now in the note appeared completing his words. He stand up, called the author, and asked what the martial arts Wan learned in the past, and told the author that he was not expecting anything too grand. The system told him that his martial arts have been decided as the Heavenly Demon's divine arts, making him shocked. Heavenly Demon's divine arts is an ultimate martial arts form that includes breathing and cultivation, sword, fist, pawn, and step technique, and more. Mastering even one of those techniques would make you martial arts master, but mastering all of them bring you to transcendence. The information about the Heavenly Demon's divine arts is flowing into his head, so he thinks no wonder Wham looked like someone special. The martial arts Heavenly Demon's Grand 12 pressure point techniques have been added. It's a pressure point technique created by the Heavenly Demon after battling with the 12 zodiacs in the heavenly realm. Then the 3 breathing and cultivation technique of the Heavenly Demon's divine arts has been added to the 3 breathing techniques are the Heavenly Demon's lotus breathing technique, grand breathing technique, and hell breathing technique. He was amazed that it's a really fast plot development, and can't believe that he can learn that many at once. He learned the Heavenly Demon's divine arts 3 breathing and cultivation techniques, and he felt like he could use them. He closes his hand, wondering if he can test out that power. Suddenly someone bang on his door hard, telling him that he know his home, so he should open the door before he knock it down. He was confused about who is it and what was going on. The author told him that he just brought a rando in and he can figure out the rest, making him ask if the author mean he just brought a random person. He gets that every writer writes differently, but he thinks the author is kind of off the rails. The man barred in telling him that he should be smarter if he's going to change his password, and ask him who the hell uses 50 as the password. Then he closes the door, telling him that he must be having a better time than he thought, but Juan was confused about what is he on about. After showing up out of nowhere, he braces himself together and thinks a third rape thug appeared right as the regressed main character recovered his power. The answer is obvious. He told the man that he came at a good time. The man's name is Kwon Sengu. The role is extra exposition, is about taking money from Lee Wan. He told Sengu that there was something he wanted to test out with his body, saying who launched to punch him while asking him if did he go senile. But he easily avoided it. He wonders why Sang Who is so slow, and he thinks it's boring. Sang Who angrily asked him if he just dodged his punch, and he replied it was way too easy, and told him that he's kind of slow. Sang Who gets furious and tried to punch him again, but he just smirks, realizing that his life started flashing before his eyes. He blocked it using his hand, while Lee Wan's memories from before his regression, where he fought with that martial arts, are flowing into his head, and his body is responding to those memories. Sangu blocked his attack with his shoulder, then shouted one more time, twisted his fist, and uses the 7th form of the Heavenly Demon's divine arts. Sang Who got thrown away hard, then slammed to the door and collapsed to the floor, while Wan shook his hand because it hurt a ton. He walks close to Sang Who while clearing his throat and told him that he has been living too long without a proper lesson in life. Not everything he sees is as it appears, and not to believe everything he see, because there is no such thing as justice in that world. Suddenly the author appeared behind him, telling him that it was good, and that was a very main character-esque line. He asked the author what the main character does with his martial arts, and if he is just supposed to live according to his self-interests. He told him that he liked that he's super strong, but he wonders what's next, and told the author that he should at least let him know what's going to happen next while he's excited. About the author's reply, the author was awkward and responded revenge. The author told him that Li Wan regressed because he was murdered, so they should have revenge be the final objective. Making him surprised, he told the author that it was different than what the summary said, but the author responded he just changed it. He felt uneasy and asked the author, where is the guy he need to take revenge against? But the author turned around asking him why he want to know everything from the start, and told him that he should learn as he go. But he seriously told the author to tell him the truth and ask him if he just made it up, and if nothing's been planned. The author just awkwardly laughs and told him not to worry too much because this time is different, but he furiously asks what was different when nothing has been planned. Yet the author told him that he's the main character, he is going to create that novel together with him, and in this world he lives as the main character. Then asked him if it doesn't seem awesome. He wonders if he can really create it, and if he really doesn't just have to do as he is told. He thinks it might be an opportunity, a chance for him to achieve his dreams. Suddenly he heard Sang who wake up behind him, so he sits down, telling that he have taken about $3,000 from him, and asked him why don't he pay him back $30,000 after interest. But in reality he just made it up. Sang who asked him how he was supposed to get $30,000 so quickly, but he told him that it was none of his business, and told him that he should go earn it if he need to. Then told him that even the loan shark goblins let thugs like him borrow money, while wondering if he can make stuff up like that. Sang, who ran away shouting that he don't want to pay. The author thinks goblins in a world of martial arts are fresh and interesting, so he guesses he should add fantasy elements while he's at it. Then he happily added race, goblin race, orc race, elf, and race dwarf in the story. On the other hand, he smirks that it really works in anything he says reflects into the setting of the world. Suddenly the system told him that the author has been inspired, and when he looked back, he saw the author saying they should use dimension collision and mix together various worlds. A fantasy world and a martial arts world collided together because of a certain incident in the present day. The system said the author is excited while he's wondering what time should it have happened, and decided that the collision happened around the end of World War II, and because of it the history is different from what they know, and that can explain how martial arts are prominent, as well as the existence of fantasy race. The authors happily dance around saying that it will work, and Juan thinks it's a bit excessive, but he laughed and told the author that he seems to be a very big story, so he's looking forward to it. All the system showed him that dimension collision world setting it set around the end of WW2 due to a certain incident in the universe. A fantasy world and a martial arts world collided with their dimension, crossing over into Earth. That is known as the dimension collision. He opens his door thinking that the author's new idea is not bad, and he does think it's unnecessarily detailed, but he does like that it's not the common everyday dimension collision. He was thankful for it because the main character's premise of knowing martial arts became natural, and it was time for him to go out into the interesting world crafted by the author and him. The system told him that the author finished writing the final paragraph, and the strongest character in the world is only interested in himself. Chapter 1 is 100 complete. He looked around and was amazed to see the world where Miriam modern times and fantasy coexist, and he thinks it really is becoming world fitting that setting. While he was looking around, he saw a poster promoting the golden card that releases big hits even with zero interest for 30 days, making him realize that everything he said is being reflected literally. Then he continues walking, knowing that he needs to make his body strong enough to do martial arts, so he wonders where could he possibly go to do it depending on his words and thoughts. Old memories of the main character Lee Won pop up and become a part of him naturally. When he thinks of a destination in his head, it becomes a setting and eventually reality. He arrives at the Miriam Federation when the system told him that the National Miriam Federation is being added. The martial artist founded the Miriam Federation after the formation of an alliance between the unjust faction and the just faction. After being taken aback by the powerful firepower of the modern age, the system told him that the embassy of the Miriam Federation in Korea and the nation of the Golden Spring Kingdom has been added. He decided that from that moment he was going to try and steer the story to the safe side, since that is a story world where the writer call himself a god and they are creating together. The receptionist asked him how she should help him, and he told her to hold on a minute while searching for something. He knows that since he is the regress protagonist, there will be something he needs in there. Then he gave the piece of paper to the lady and told her that he'd like to register as a martial artist. He was a martial artist application form with his name, birthday, and other information. The lady told him that his application has been accepted, making him glad and promising to himself that he was going to be the strongest character in the world, just like in the title. The lady told him that he may go straight for the interview. He goes to the interview. The man told him that will be enough for his interview and he have done his best, to which he agreed. Then the man asked him if he really said that he don't know his clan or his teacher's name, then told him that he may not know who they are, but they would have been proud to have a talented disciple like him. The man named is Ju Won-bi. Keys, the consul of the embassy of the Miriam Federation in Korea and in charge of interviews. Ju told him that, as you know, after the dimension collision, everything became a mess, and there were a lot of people who couldn't get used to the world and were left to struggle alone, especially the old. Also, he told him that nowadays many people call them righteous, so he should be proud of his teacher and welcomes him. Then told him that he may maintain his current nationality, but if you wish to dedicate himself to the Miriam Federation, he can. He thanks you for thinking so highly of him, but he thinks he's taking too damn long, and he didn't come there to listen to him talk about the world setting. He told you that the real reason he came all the way there is not to meet the consul Ju Won-beak, but to meet the leader Ju Won-beak of the Dragon Sword clan. Ju was surprised that he knows his clan and told him that he's curious as to what he had to say and told him to feel free to tell him what he is there, for he told you that he'll get straight to the point and said there was something the Dragon Sword clan currently possesses, and it was the first heaven's decree of original fire. He thinks that there should be an event there, and it was something like one of the treasures that the protagonist had before regressing. The system told him that the treasure, first heaven's decree of original fire, that holds the soul of the heavenly demon, has been added, and the character Ju Won-beak's role has been upgraded from extra to supporting character. He told you that he came to retrieve it as its rightful owner. Ju angrily asked him if he just says that there is its rightful owner, and how he dares make such a claim after already mentioning its name. He loosens his necktie, telling him that he doesn't know why he's going after their precious treasure, but he told him to better start explaining. Seeing Ju angry, he thinks he's no different from a killer ghost. Although he's looking at Ju's reaction, everything is going as he planned. Then he activates these heavenly demons. Grand 12 pressure point technique rabbit has been added, making his senses heightened. Then he activates another heavenly demons Grand 12 pressure point technique dragon, making his Kai increase. He was surprised because the technique isn't balanced and he still have 10 more to go out of 12 of them, and yet the power is incredible. Ju called him a poor soul and told him easy that he was using his Kai, so he thinks he has a death wish and asks him who sent him, but he just smiles, wondering if he looks like someone whose life is going to end there, and he may not look like it. But he's the protagonist of the novel. Ju told him that if you won't answer him, then he shall reveal his dark secrets himself and attack him. But he avoided it and was amazed that Ju is so fast. He wonders if it's Ju true character and was glad that he heightened his senses, or else that would be been a short story. Zhu was impressed by him because he managed to dodge the Thousand Beast Slam martial arts. Named Thousand Beast Slam is one of the special techniques used by the Dragon Sword clan, and those experienced view it as a more difficult technique than the Celestial Sword. The system told him that the writer is watching with interest, and the writer thinks there's nothing more interesting than watching a fight. He disappointedly told the writer that he should be doing his job because the protagonist in his story is currently in danger. Suddenly, Zhu appeared in front of him and continuously attacks him, but he blocked and avoided them. He wonders if he facing the same person because everything is different from what he have seen in Li Wan's past, but he noticed that something was different because it isn't the skill of someone from second generation. He attacks him back even though he doesn't know who he really Zhu is, but he just wants him to hand over the treasure. Already do jump in midair to avoid his attack, and he was surprised when he saw Zhu launching toward him, while the system told him that Zhu character is being corrected and showed him the additional context that says Zhu has been pretending to be the second-gen Huan Beak, and he is actually a first-gen martial artist that appeared after the dimension collision. Then the dragon sword named Juho Wan attacked him using a blossoming thousand strikes. He called the writer asking if it was just him, or did the difficulty of the fight just increase. Zhu attacks him continuously while he was standing in one place, blocking all his attacks, realizing that Zhu isn't missing, and his attacks feel like thousands of unformed blades pouring down on him. There was no time for him to think of how Li Wan was being described in the novel, and it was pure instinct. He clenches his fist hard and positions his feet on the ground, activates his seventh form, making Zhu surprised, and punched him hard in the chest, making him thrown away in the distance and slammed into the wall. He was surprised by what he did and knows that he gave it his all when he thought he had to win, but he wonders what is with that power. He knows that Zhu is a normal guy trying to protect his clan's treasure, and he just punched him like he was a sack of potatoes. So he was sure that there were obviously going to be comments about him being an irrational jerk. Zhu is coughing blood while telling that he have the first heaven's decree of original fire. However, he won't be able to take it away from him because he Huan Beak will protect it, even if it costs him his life. Zhu collapsed on the ground and coughed blood, but still asked him if he thinks he was the only one trying to get his hands on the first heaven's decree of original fire, making him shocked and panic because no matter how he look at it, he's the villain. So he wonders what kind of system setting could there be to make Li Wan not look like a bad guy, but also mediate the situation smoothly. Fortunately, he got a nice idea. He softly touches Zhu's back, asking him why are he willing to fight with a body that was beyond damaged. He told him that he must have been through a lot of hardship, and it was the greatest treasure to him, but it must have been a deadly poison to him. He told you softly that the Dragon Sword clan no longer needs to shoulder that heavy burden, a pledge between the heavenly demon and Buddha, also the absolute rule that has been passed down by victors, and it's the energy of the heavenly demon's lotus breathing technique. The system told him that the first heaven's decree of original fire treasure is being corrected, and the reason is it was the greatest treasure to him, but it must have been a deadly poison to him. The Dragon Sword clan no longer needs to shoulder the heavy burden. Then Zhu releases a strong fire, and it forms a circle, making him surprised. The system showed him additional context that said if a person who is not the successor of the heavenly demon's lotus breathing technique holds it, they will suffer from extreme heat 4 times a year, and the only way to pull it out of a body is to have the successor of the heavenly demon's lotus breathing technique to retrieve it. He was amazed looking at the first heaven's decree of original fire. Suddenly it goes toward him and entered his body, making him confused about what was going to happen. The note told him that the vigor of fire overflowed within his body. Any technique, magic, or curse based upon fire became useless against him. Moreover, a 6 years' worth of Kai came together With the heavenly demon's divine art, it created a positive of energy of the intense heat known as flaming heavens. And the burning energy wrapped itself around his body. He looks at his hands, realizing that it was a flaming heaven. The notes showed that after all those years, the long-desired wish of the Dragon Sword clan was granted. So Ju-won. Beak bowed at him, saying he bow before the heavenly demon. He looks at Ju's surprise, and he smiles because it makes him feel like he's really the protagonist of the story. The system told him that the writer has finished the last paragraph, and that chapter 2 is 100. Complete. Later, Ju gives him an identification card while telling him that it was the best grade. He has the authority to provide him. He grabbed it and noticed that it was an advanced martial artist card. Ju told him that he was aware that it's not a grade that matches his prestige, but he'll at least have little difficulty doing what he want. With that grade, he thanked you for his consideration, but you give him another card while explaining that he got him that because it seemed like he needed his own training grounds. Ju also explained that he visited that place every year when he experienced the extreme flare-ups of First Heaven's decree of original fire. But now it's a spare house that he has no use for, so he would appreciate him using it. Ju told him that whenever he need him, all he has to do is call. Then he bowed to him, telling him that he shall do everything he can do to support him, making him realize that the situation created through change turned out to be beneficial to him, and he confidently thinks his ability to think quickly is awesome. He stretches his body, realizing that now he has the treasure, and he also gained the kai he needed. He thinks it's about time he entered the main story. Then he called the writer to ask what should they do with the next story, and told the writer that now the protagonist has gained strength, he thinks it's time for a real battle. Then he asks if the opponent he's about to face won't be weak. The system showed him that the writer looks happy and told him that he was excited because he has already waiting for the next story. He started to walk while thinking that the writer seems to be happy, but agrees because it's true that the most exciting part is when he starts writing the story, so he looks forward to what the writer has in mind for the next chapter. Suddenly the writer adds the race of demons in the world setting of the counterside world, making him surprised and wonder what the hell is the counterside world. The system explained that the counterside world is a world that continues to expand from the day the dimension collision began, and the demons that appear on the counterside world are creatures that have not been seen in Murim or fantasy worlds. With that knowledge, they are able to assume that the demon's dimension is also colliding with their current dimension. He said the storyline is getting too grand for comfort. Then the system told him that they can sort them into 3 large groups: the mutant type, underground type, and the summoning type, and explained it more, making him shake his head in frustration, telling the writer to stop it and told him that story that are too wordy isn't popular anymore. Suddenly the writer appeared, telling him not to worry because his writing is going very smoothly, but he thinks that was not the problem. The problem is he's putting all kinds of material into the story when even a single one of those things would be hard to create a plot line. It's good to be filled with motivation, but he wonders what the hell is the writer going to do with all of it, and most importantly, when is the writer going to start the main story? But he just walks away thinking the god is a writer after also. He thinks the writer will 5. Still he wonders what if he leaves it to him and the novel fails, the story will be done, for he knows that he can't afford to lose the opportunity, so he has to do something. He come back and praise the writer for making a lot of good settings. The god agreed and told him that he's really good at smoothing out the details. He told the writer that since he has all those plot lines, he'll probably have Lee Won, a rising martial artist who appeared like a comet, solve all of the problems related to the counterside world, and that'll be the focus of the story. He asked him if what he said was right, but the god was just silent for a moment and replied that he knew him well and he was just about to write it, but he knows that the god was a liar. After their conversation, the news told them that there has been no contact from the 7 phantoms or the green sword who entered the Dharam Piano Academy for a week. The Safety Bureau held an official press conference asking for as much help as possible, and they temporarily removed the entry limitation. Moreover, it said that there is a demon baron by the name of Savage in the counter-side world. He smiled because it was what he wanted, and he hoped the writer to keep up the good work. He thinks it was time for him to shine. So first, he'll need to call a taxi to go to the Dharam Piano Academy. Later, he arrived at the destination, and he heard officers telling people to stand back because it was a danger zone. He looks at the place and wonders if a demon really appeared in a place like it because it looks more normal than he thought it would. The officers asked him if he didn't hear them saying it was dangerous there, but he showed his Muram Federation identification card to make the officer shut up. The officer asks him if he's an advanced martial artist, but he just told him that he's coming through. He wonders what should he do to make the story interesting, and since he's there, he thinks it would be more convincing if it was somehow related to his revenge. Without noticing someone behind him, the lady excused herself to call him and ask him if she can see his identification card again. He asked if there was a problem, and the lady replied that she'd like to double-check.